it was a good choice, probably the most widely available of all the choices. Not a bad choice, but not the best choice.
And this one was the loser for me anyway.
Yeah, this is the Penzeys, and usually we love Penzeys as a mail order company. You can find it in some gourmet stores. This one was very strong on the cinnamon and was an example of one that, it's not going to ruin your food, but we didn't think it had as much complexity as the other brands that we tasted.
So in a very difficult tasting, I picked the winner. I just like to point that out. And the winner was Frontier 5-Spice Powder. I have to say today I'm afflicted.
You are?
I have a disease. It's called culinary ennui. It's the dark night of my culinary
Is it contagious?
It is contagious because I'm bored with beef stew. I made carbonate, I made bourguignon, I made Spanish beef stew, I made American beef stew. I'm sick of it. So you're here to get me out of my funk. I want something totally new. Blow my mind.
All right. Well,
it's up to you.
I've got something for you. How about a beef stew with lots of Chinese flavors?
Something new.
Exactly.
Okay.
Well, this is red cooked beef, and it's sort of like a stew, except there are a few big differences. One is that there isn't a ton of stewy sauce. It's actually cooked down so that it really coats the meat. And it starts with a different cut of beef as well.
I'm feeling better already.
Well, let me show you the classic beef that's often used, and that is the beef shank. Now, here are two cuts of beef shank. Here's the long cut beef shank and a cross cut of that same muscle. We couldn't really call for this because you can't find it very often. Now, if you can find it, go ahead and get it and use it. You'll be very happy. But let me show you some of the other things that we also tried. This is a flat cut brisket, and it was a little too lean, a little too dry for our long, slow cooking. And here is the chuck. Now, we often go with a chuck roast for our beef stews. It's from the shoulder area. This is a chuck eye, and this is blade steaks. Really good flavor, but they're so tough. It takes too long to cook them. We want something shorter.
Well, at least you're still finicky, Bridget. You haven't lost it. You're still very persnickety.
I'm still going to eat all these, but not in this particular dish. So let me trade sides here with you. Come on down. This is what we are using. This is beef short ribs. A lot of flavor, a lot of richness. So just want to cut these into about 4-inch lengths. And obviously these are boneless. Now, it doesn't have the same amount of connective tissue as the shanks, but this is going to allow us to cook this quicker than, say, blade or chuck because it already starts off more tender. Now, since the short ribs don't have as much connective tissue as the shanks, we needed to add gelatin to our sauce. Now, this is powdered gelatin. This is just a prop here. We didn't add this much to our sauce.
I was getting a little nervous, but okay.
This is just to show what it looks like. So we took 1.5 tablespoons of powdered gelatin, and we softened that in 2.5 cups of water I've got in my Dutch oven. Let that soften for 5 minutes, and then melted it over medium-high heat until the gelatin was all melted, and that is where we are today. Now we'll start adding some more ingredients. Start off with some dry sherry. This is a 1/2 cup, and we have 1/3 cup of soy sauce. So we're already starting off with glutamate-rich flavor. We have 3 scallion whites and a 2-inch piece of ginger, and we sliced this in half and then smashed it, and that bursts open those cell walls, so it'll give more flavor to our broth. 4 smashed cloves of garlic, that goes right in. Molasses, just 2 tablespoons, gives that really bitter, sweet flavor to our braising liquid. This is hoisin sauce, has a really deep, deep flavor. So this is all about a balance of salty and sweet and bitter, and a little bit of spice too, we're going to get to here in a minute. Now, this is Chinese 5-spice powder. This is 1.5 teaspoons. A little goes a long way. So this is 1 teaspoon of red pepper flakes. And I want to stir all this together. There we go. And now we can go ahead and place the beef right in the pot. We're not going to pre-brown it. There's tons of umami-rich ingredients in there. Plop the beef in.
So already I like it. You don't have to spend half an hour breaking down the meat into little pieces. You don't have to spend another half hour sauteing it in batches.
That's right.
Which is hour 1 of your basic beef stew.
Make sure that they're nice and submerged. Now, even though we are using a different cut of beef and some unorthodox beef stew choices of ingredients compared to our regular beef stew, we do need to stick to stew rules. And one of them is we need this to come up to a full simmer before we put it in the oven. All right, so this is at the simmer. We can go ahead and turn the heat off. And now I'm going to get a piece of foil and then cover it with the lid. And that foil is going to trap that moisture inside. Okay. So this is going to go into a 300-degree oven, a nice even temperature. And it's going to stay in there. I'll probably stir it once halfway through cooking, but only 2 to 2.5 hours. All right. We are done with the oven at this point. Let's check and see what's going on under the hood. The release of aroma is absolutely amazing. I do want to fish out the beef. So I'm just using a slotted spoon to remove all the beef, and this is why we kept it in good sized pieces here. Now, for this liquid, I'm going to strain it through this fine mesh strainer into a bowl because we're going to reduce this down. We'll go ahead and transfer all this liquid to our fat separator. So we're going to let that settle, the sauce settle for about 5 minutes. I want to wipe this pot out with just paper towels to get rid of any solids. We want a nice, smooth sauce. All right, so you can see the fat has separated. It's risen to the top as it should. We'll go ahead and return the liquid back into the pot. Leave the fat behind. I do love saying fat behind on television. And now I'll crank up the heat under here because we want to reduce this until it's thickened. That's going to take about 20 minutes. In the meantime, I can take 2 forks and very easily shred this meat into 1.5.
You want me to taste and make sure it's okay?
Yeah, here's a little bit for you
Thank
there. 1.5 inch size pieces.
Oh.
Isn't that amazing? I mean, look how tender this is. All right, so another 20 minutes on that, and we'll be good to go.
That's good.
Oh, you can see how beautiful that sauce is. It's thickened, it's reduced, full of flavor, but we do want to thicken it just a little bit more, and we're going to use just a tad of cornstarch. This is a teaspoon, and we'll dissolve this in a tablespoon of water, make a slurry, so this is not cornstarch heavy. So dissolve the cornstarch. I'll reduce this to medium-low, and then whisk this in slowly, and it should start to thicken. 30 seconds to a minute really is all it takes.
Already happening.
Yep. All right, so that is that. I'll return the beef to the pot. I want to coat it with that sauce, and you'll see how well it clings. All right, so that is well coated. Now we're going to keep this under the lid for another 5 minutes just to reheat that beef all the way through. You have waited long enough, 5 minutes for this to heat
Patience
through.
is not my middle name.
We are done with cooking. All right, make sure that you didn't peek and cheat and take it all. Oh, gorgeous. I'm going to add a final sprinkling of scallion here, and I'll save some to serve. We also are serving this with plain rice. You can also serve it with bok choy or broccoli. A few more sprinklings of scallion for you. There we go.
Oh, well, I mean, what can I say? It's a really complex series of tastes with the ginger and a little spice to it. And,
Well, it has the salty, the sweet. It's got that little bit of bitterness from the molasses, and a tiny bit of creeping heat.
Okay, on a scale of 1 to 10, it's an 11. You finally earned this season the 11.
I did.
Yeah.
This one goes
You've
to
had
11.
a lot of 10s and
Fantastic.
a lot of 9s. This one's definitely 11. So the secret to Chinese red cooked beef is to start with short ribs, which are boneless, and you made a great braising liquid with lots of umami ingredients. Cooked it in the oven for about 2.5 hours, which isn't that long. Removed the beef, reduced down the sauce, beef back into reheat, and there you have it. From America's Test Kitchen to your kitchen, the world's best beef stew, Chinese red cooked beef. You can get this recipe, all the recipes from this year's show, our equipment ratings, taste test, and also watch selected episodes, all on our website, which of course is americastestkitchen.com.